So YouTubers always say, I wish someone made this video when I was about 3 years old and then I could have started earlier and so on, but that's all trash, okay? Overall, the good thing is you're watching this video right now and that's what's basically important. Now overall, the reason I'm making this video is because in reality, a lot of people think that they need a lot of money to retire, and in reality, it's not really true. I feel like I can buy the entire planet with $1,000 per month, but then there are people out there that feel like $10,000 per month is actually not enough, and that's fine because everyone is different, everyone has different goals, but it's very important to understand that the more money you want to have for retirement, the more work you're probably going to have to put in, the more time is going to take, usually the more effort, okay? But for the man that wants to lease, usually he can get there a little sooner like I did. That's the idea. For me, with $1,000, I feel like I can buy this entire planet and put it in my pocket. But that's just me because I am the most boring guy on YouTube. But the numbers work. And I'm going to teach you how to run the numbers to actually help you out, okay? And by the way, retirement isn't just stocks and real estate. Retirement isn't, for example, just put money in here over time with 30 years and you're done to go. The answer is no. There are multiple ways to actually get it done. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you 3 hacks that most people actually don't talk about that much. Now, as always, guys, like this video and top out, also subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. Now, the very first thing, guys, is this, okay? If you don't know where you want to go, why are you still driving the car? It's like, hey, I'm driving for fun. Like, no, if you want to retire, the very first question you want to ask yourself and actually solve an answer is, how much money do I need for retirement? It's that simple. So the easy thing to understand is that we all have basics. So I recommend you focus on the basics first. The basics always tend to change though, whether you have kids, whether you're single, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, okay? But overall, you have 4 main expenses that we all share. And they are not really optional because you live on planet Earth. That's going to be shelter, that's where you live, utilities, that's what you use, groceries is what you eat, transportation, that's what you drive, okay? So those are the main 4 expenses. And what you want to figure out is exactly how much money do I need to cover all of these things. Now, for me personally, my math works like this, okay? Now, because I have a paid off home, I spend about $300 on my house. And that's basically on maintenance and insurance. That's basically it. That's all I spend. When it comes to utilities, I spend around $300 because I have, for example, internet bill, my water bill, my light bill, and all gas bill, all that stuff, like $300, okay? Grocery bill, $300 because I like buying nice food and so on. So I spend a little extra on that. And then when it comes to my car is paid off. It's not sexy, but it's the car I like. Not really like, it's the car I drive, okay? It's the car I need right now. It's $100 a month, okay? Because I'm not required to pay insurance where I live in Puerto Rico. I just get like this little thing and that covers me for like $300 and that's more than enough. So in total, that's about $1,000. But for you, it might be a lot more. So run your numbers. Now, the thing is, okay, on average, it takes a person like 10 to 15 years to actually pay off their home with the plan we actually have. Probably have a full course link down below if you actually want it. But the overall thing is, guys, that one of the most expensive parts of your entire retirement plan is going to be shelter. So if you can pay off that expense as fast as possible, it means like you save like 1/3 of your money. So you don't really need to spend money on shelter anymore because it's basically covered. That's super, super important. Whether it's a house or a condo or a duplex, whatever you actually want to do. But the point is, when you think about retirement, think about what can I do with? And by the way, for some people, you're gonna want, for example, a lot more than I want. You might want, for example, a mansion. You might want to have a Ferrari. But just understand, okay, be realistic because these things, they cost time, they cost a lot of money, a lot of effort. And when I figured those things out, I said, you know what? I don't want a massive home anymore. I don't want a Lamborghini Urus or a Tesla Model X. I don't want any of these things because what I really want is to have the option to do whatever I want, whenever I want with my family and have freedom, financial freedom. So that's what's really important to me. And that's why I focus on what I focus on. And that's where my decisions basically come from. Now, here are some of the information that you actually want. Tommy, how much income am I going to need to basically make, or how much money in retirement am I going to need to actually have in order to actually retire, okay, to actually be fine? The answer is, well, once you know how much money you need overall, because you should know that, shelter, utility, grocery, transportation, for me it's $1,000, well, you have different levels of return. You have real estate, you have, for example, stock market, and you also have, for example, business income. These are all different levels of income. They also have different levels of risk and also different levels of profits. That's pretty obvious, okay? But overall, when you think about the stock market, one of the most pronoun theories out there is basically the 4% rule. And that basically says, hey, if the stock market earns you 8% to 12%, just take out 4%, and that way that money will not run out for at least 33 years under the worst conditions ever, okay? So what it means is, if I have $1 million invested in the stock market, if I take 4%, that's 40K a year. But if it grows by 8%, that's 80K a year. Meaning, hey, I take money out, but I leave money in, so it keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And that way, I don't run out of capital. When I actually fade away from this planet, I actually leave a lot more money for my kids in there if that's of interest to you. And some people actually don't want to like leave any money behind. They just actually want to use all of it. So it's all up to you, but the 4% rule is very common. Now, here is the simple math, okay? Whatever your number is for how much money you actually need for retirement in income or like in expenses, for example. So let's say, for example, you need $100,000 a month, a year, just multiply it by 25. And that's how much money you actually need to have, for example, in stocks to take out 4% and get that much money back. So obviously it is a lot of money. So for me, because I need, for example, just $12,000, well, what's 12,000 times, for example, 25, because that's how you get the 4% rule? The answer is fairly simple. Use a calculator, okay? So $12,000, which is my shelter, utilities, groceries, and transportation, multiplied by 25 gives me $300,000. That's the idea. And by the way, even once you get there with your investments, you want to keep investing more money, because the more money you have in there, if the stock market falls down, you still have money in there to actually cover your expenses, and that way you don't have to worry about it, okay? So that's basically times 25. And here's why: because if I multiply by 4%, which is times 0.04, I get the same $12,000. That's the idea. Simple math. Just multiply that number by 25 and that gives you the answer. Now, let's say you want to do real estate and you want to buy real estate. Real estate returns, you're going to do usually, for example, like buying homes and condos and apartments like outright in cash. You can expect to make about like 8%, okay? Like an 8% return. That's like basically, the good thing about real estate though is right? You have this home and the value basically grows, right? And on top of that, you can also take all the cash flow for yourself. So if you're getting 8% returns, well, that's all you. So whatever your number is, just multiply it by 12.5. So that basically means if I need the same $12,000 from real estate, just multiply that by 12.5, and that gives me 150K. Basically saying I need half the amount of money in stocks that I need in real estate. But again, real estate is more complicated because now I have to buy a home, I have to take care of tenants, I have to make sure it's maintained, it has more expenses, it's more complicated, right? And there's also more risk involved. So that's why you're gonna earn a little bit more, but it's for a reason. You have added risk. So I need half the money, but it's added risk, okay? So keep that in mind. You might have vacancies, you might have expenses, the roof might fall down, you might need to remodel. So 12.5 times, and that gives you the number. So again, by the way, if you need $40,000, again, this is a lot of money stuff, okay, guys? So times 12.5 in real estate, you need to have around $500,000 in real estate to actually be able to retire. Now in stocks, guess how much it is, okay? 40,000 divided, just multiply by 25. The answer is $1 million. You see, it's a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. So the less you want, the faster you actually get there. Now, there's another source, okay, of income, and that's going to be, for example, business income. Now, let's say you're actually able to pull in like 20% returns on your business. Let's say, for example, you have a side hustle, whether it's selling cupcakes or courses or whatever it is. The answer is, if you can pull in 20%, then you only need 5 times your expenses, because that's all you need. So if you have, for example, again, if your needs are like me, $12,000 a month, a year, not a month, multiplied by 5, I only need, for example, 60K invested in that business. And if that's 20%, that's going to return for me $12,000. That's the idea. But the thing is, the business requires less money than real estate and stocks, but it's also a lot more risk than both of those things combined, because you can always lose customers, you can always go bankrupt, you can always lose everything. So the answer is usually you want to have a combination of all three, potentially, but you want to go in order. So for me, first I wanted to cover my basics with my stock market, then I wanted to cover, for example, my extras with my real estate, then I wanted to cover, for example, the extra stuff of my business, okay? That's the overall idea, and that's how I would go about doing it. Now, just to summarize here, because it can get confusing, The first part is calculate how much money you're going to need for retirement in expenses overall. That's with shelter, utilities, groceries, and transportation. For me, it's just $1,000 per month. Then you want to pick, for example, you can do stocks, 8% returns. Real estate, no, stocks are like 8-12%, but you're only going to take 4% because of the 4% rule. And then you have, for example, real estate, 8%. Business might be 20%, okay? I would do stocks first. It's more passive, and it allows you to, while you're doing that on the side, you're able to pay off your home faster, lowers your expenses overall, okay? That's the idea. Now, let's talk about, for example, what am I personally doing right now? Well, overall, I covered my $12K a year expenses with my stock market already. Now, I have 3 levels of wealth. I have, for example, cover the basics, cover the comforts, and cover the luxury. My basics are $12,000. Now I'm working on covering the comfortable stuff. So I want to be able to make, for example, $2,000 per month in passive income now, right? So if I can grab, for example, some real estate about 150K worth, then that covers that. Then if I have a business like I do, for example, my little small business that I have here, the answer is this can cover, for example, like my nice stuff, then that's pretty cool. So you want to have, for example, multiple levels, different incomes. That way you have a little bit more diversification. But overall, if you want a really good plan that goes in order and everything, I have a link down below to my course, which is down below. That way you can actually get it. And by the way, I'm also working on a PDF of the course. That way, if you're not really into watching long videos and so on, I'm making like a little book of it so that way you can basically read it and digest it in like a week or so, and then you're good to go. Now, here are the retirement hacks that I promised you guys if you made it all the way to the end of the video. The first one is going to be work part-time and retire faster. People think retirement is just about, I don't work, I don't do nothing, money comes in. That's true in a sense, right? But if you need like $4,000 a month and you can work part-time and earn 2K, the other 2K comes in passive, then you're able to work part-time and still have money come in, cover everything, and you're able to basically retire right then and there a lot faster, right? So that's a lot better. So if you actually work, that can actually save you a lot of time when it comes to retirement. If you have income in some sense, it can save you a lot of time. Number 2 is going to be want less and retire faster. When I wanted a $500,000 house and over $100,000 car, I needed, for example, over almost $3 million. Today, I only need 300K. It's a big, big difference. It's like 10x the difference, okay? So the less you want, the faster you're going to get there, okay? That's what I've noticed in life. And usually, you know, I didn't want a fancy car. I didn't want a fancy house. What I really wanted was a home. I really wanted something that was actually mine. You know what I mean? I really wanted financial freedom. I wanted to do what I wanted when I wanted to do it. That's really what you want out of life, right? So if you focus on what you really want, not on the stuff, you can get there a lot faster. And then third, you can always switch countries. You know, when I was in New York, to buy a house was like $700,000. I left. I went to Puerto Rico. It's a lot cheaper there. Or, for example, Santo Domingo, or, for example, some island somewhere, or some country out there. Like, there's a lot of options, not just America. Or there are other places and states in America where things cost a lot less. So also consider those things. So that's basically your move. You want less, and on top of that, you can basically work at the same time, and that way you're able to retire a lot faster. You know, I see people basically working until like 65 because they want to have all this stuff, then they reach 65, they're sick, they can't enjoy it. The answer is you really want to consider and think about how you're going to do things, okay, guys? But overall, that is it for this video. It's very relative, okay? And there is no problem if you don't want to be like me, okay? That's fine. If you want to have, for example, 5K in passive income per month, that's fine. 10,000, that's fine. 30,000, fine. But the thing is, just know what it's going to cost you. And if you're willing to pay the price, that's more than fine. But if you're not willing, then you got to readjust your plan because it's just nonsense, all right? So that's the thing. That's the overall thing, you know? So thanks for watching this video. As always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified, and comment down below, made it, so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. By the way, what do you think about that, okay? Real estate, business, stocks, which one do you prefer and why? I know business sounds attractive because it's like less money, but it is a lot of work and it's also a risk involved, okay? Real estate is awesome, but I only started doing real estate like after I did the stock market because real estate takes a little bit more work. There is more maintenance involved, there is more risk involved, and it's like, I'm gonna do this because it's like cool stuff to do, but I don't really like real estate that much, okay? But I also don't like having all my eggs in the stock market because those can go down and then you have an issue, okay? But guys, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified. The simpler something is, usually the better it is. Peace.